When the Birmingham detectives presented this case to the magistrate, they didn't just ask for a homicide charge. They asked for capital murder. In Alabama, if a life is taken in the presence of a child you share with the person, the legal stakes change completely. Prosecutors state that Shatice Jackson didn't just lose control of her vehicle. They state she tried to hit McKis Bostic once, missed, turned the wheel, and accelerated a second time until he was trapped between the SUV and a house. There were no brake marks found at the scene. This wasn't a tragedy that happened in the dark. It happened in front of his mother, his twin brother, and his children. We're going through the actual witness statements and the heart-wrenching reactions from both families to see how a relationship that looked perfect on Instagram ended in a multi-state tragedy. Welcome to the discussion. I'm glad you're here because this is one of those stories that forces us to look at the warning signs we often overlook in our daily lives. We're talking about Birmingham, Alabama, Easter Sunday, 2025. It was supposed to be a day of peace, a day of family. But what happened on Lisa Lane has left a lot of people questioning how a man who was described by everyone as having a heart of gold could be taken away so suddenly by the person he was building a life with. I want to be clear, we aren't here to be sensational. We're here to look at the facts. We're looking at the digital footprints, the police reports, and the courtroom behavior that has people across the country feeling completely unsettled. If you've been following this, you know it's heavy. If you're just hearing about it now, I want you to pay close attention to the background of this couple, because that's where the context really lies. Before we get into the events of that night, you have to understand who McKis James Bostic was. He was 27 years old, a graduate of Woodlawn High School, and a man deeply committed to his community. He served as an officer at the Jefferson County Family Court and Youth Detention Center. This wasn't just a job for him, it was a calling. The director of the facility spoke at his vigil, and it's a perspective we need to hear to understand the gravity of this loss. He said McKis was young enough to still have relatability to the kids, but old enough to still be able to hold them accountable, and they had a lot of respect for him. That's a difficult line to walk in that environment. Yet McKis walked it every day with a smile. People knew him as Keith or Big B. On his own social media, he called himself a comedian. He was the life of the party, always cracking jokes, always making sure the room felt lighter. His co-workers said no one was exempt from his jokes, and that he always found a way to make you laugh no matter what kind of day you were having. He was a provider, a protector, and a twin. His brother Mike describes him as his other half. His cousin addressed the speculation with a post on April 21st, and it's important we hear these words exactly as they were shared. Imagine as a good family-oriented man you meet a woman with 2 kids who really didn't have much and you take and love her 2 kids like your own. Imagine treating a woman like a queen. He really loved you. Imagine getting all types of gifts, not even talking about birthdays and holidays. Imagine taking a woman out of the country to see things she has never seen before. Imagine buying a woman a 5-bedroom nice family home to live comfortably. He did whatever to keep you and yours happy, and her thanks and appreciation was to take his life in front of his kids, his mom, his twin, and his sisters. Keith should have left this woman where he found her. This really hurts. There is no other backstory to this. My cousin never hit her, never ever put his hands on her. She is the aggressor. She is the one who used to get mad and wake him up out of his sleep. This is all on her. Then there is Shatice Renee Jackson. She's 30 years old, originally from Virginia. She and McKis had been together for years, building what appeared to be a solid, blended family of 5 children. 2 were hers from a previous relationship, and 3 they shared together. McKis's page was a constant tribute to her: photos, trips to Jamaica for her 30th birthday, and anniversary posts. On Valentine's Day 2025, just 2 months before the incident, Shatice posted about their new home, saying, "Best Valentine's Day gift ever. This man moved us into a bigger and better house. 5 bedrooms, 2 full bathrooms. I couldn't ask for anything better. Thank you, Daddy, we love you with everything in us. I have some making up to do." But beneath that, thank you, there was another narrative being shared publicly. It's an observation many of you are likely thinking right now. Was this a situation where the digital warnings were being posted in plain sight? In August 2023, while they were living together and raising 5 children, Shatice posted, "I enjoy being single, I can move how I want to." Keep in mind, they were very much together at that time. As we moved closer to that Easter Sunday, Her posts became even more specific. On April 16th, she shared a post about Scorpio traits, saying Scorpios react first and think later. On April 17th, another post warned that, now you got the dangerous side of a Scorpio and that's not a place you want to be. Finally, on April 18th, just 48 hours before the incident, she reposted, the Scorpio in me will tweak out in a minute. Man, I can't help it. When we look at these posts, it reveals a disconnect. While Shottais was posting about tweaking out and the dangerous side of her personality, McKis was busy planning a celebration. He was texting his cousin days before the party, telling them to slide through so they could make some new memories. He was focused on the pool, the Easter egg hunt, and his daughter's 7th birthday. He was investing in a future that someone else was already publicly signaling they were frustrated with. It makes you wonder, how many times do we see personality posts like this and laugh them off as a joke, when in reality, they are a window into a person's current state of mind? McKis was a man who worked with troubled youth every day. He was trained to see warning signs. But when those signs are coming from the person you're sleeping next to, the person you just bought a 5-bedroom house for, it's much harder to be objective. He was doing everything right by his family, while a storm was reportedly gathering right in front of him. April 20th, 2025. Lisa Lane in the Roebuck Springs area of Birmingham. It was supposed to be a day where new memories were made. McKis had gone all out for this one. It wasn't just Easter Sunday, it was an early birthday celebration for his youngest daughter, who was turning 7 the very next day. For most of the afternoon, everything was exactly as it should have been. You had the family gathered, food on the grill, children running through the yard during the Easter egg hunt. It was a picture of suburban peace. But as the sun began to set, that peace was completely shattered. Reports indicate that as the evening progressed, an argument broke out between Shottais Jackson and some of McKis's family members. We don't have every word of that exchange, but we do know it was intense enough that the Birmingham police were called to the residence. When officers arrived for that first call, they assessed the situation. Under the law at that moment, they determined that nothing criminal had taken place and no arrests were made. The officers cleared the scene, likely hoping the families would just cool off for the night. But as we often see in these high-tension disputes, the departure of the police wasn't the end, it was just the intermission. Minutes after the authorities left Lisa Lane, Shottais Jackson reportedly returned to the house. And this time, she didn't come back just to talk. Witnesses and police reports state that she returned with a firearm. A second, much more violent confrontation broke out outside the residence. As Shottais moved toward her SUV to leave, McKis's family reportedly followed her. According to prosecutors, Shottais fired a shot into the air in response to them following her, then she got into her vehicle. This is where the story moves from a domestic dispute into a capital homicide investigation. Prosecutors state that there were 4 children inside that SUV while this was happening. They allege that Shottais didn't just put the car in drive and leave the scene. Instead, the evidence presented in court suggests a calculated and repeated attempt to cause harm. Investigators state that she tried to hit McKis Bostic once and missed. But she didn't stop there. They allege she turned the wheel, realigned the vehicle, and drove into him a second time. The impact was devastating. McKis Bostic ended up pinned between the SUV and the brick wall of a neighbor's house. I want you to really process the forensics here, because this is what changed the legal trajectory of the case. When Birmingham homicide detectives examined the scene, they found something, or rather, a lack of something, that was incredibly telling. There were no brake marks. Think about what that means from a behavioral standpoint. In a moment of panic or an accidental collision, the human instinct is to slam the brakes. Even in a state of rage, the subconscious mind often tries to stop the impact at the last second. But here, the detectives say there was no evidence of braking at all. It suggests a steady, intentional acceleration toward a human target. It wasn't just a tweak-out moment, it was a choice that was followed through until the very end. The immediate aftermath was total chaos. The scene was so volatile that a MAX officer emergency was called over the radio. This is a call that goes out when the precinct on the scene cannot maintain control. More than 25 police units from all 4 precincts in Birmingham responded to Lisa Lane. When they arrived, they found a family in absolute agony. Witnesses say family members had Shottais pinned to the ground, screaming that she had just run him over. McKis James Bostic was pronounced gone at the scene. He died in the very place where, just hours before, he had been hiding Easter eggs for his children. And while the community was trying to process the loss of a man who served the youth of Jefferson County, a post appeared on social media from Shaddis' account that sent a wave of cold through everyone following the story. It simply read, "I don't feel bad at all." When you look at the totality of that evening, the first police visit, the return with a weapon, the two separate attempts to strike him, and the lack of brake marks, you see why the Department of Justice and the local magistrate didn't hesitate. Shaddis Jackson was placed on a 48-hour felony hold and booked into the Birmingham City Jail. By the next morning, as his daughter was waking up on her 7th birthday without a father, a warrant for capital murder was officially issued. She was transferred to the Jefferson County Jail with no bond. The legal system had recognized that this wasn't just a tragedy. It was a calculated act that took place in front of children, in front of a mother, and in front of a twin brother who watched his other half be taken away in a matter of seconds. As we move into the legal proceedings, the behavior inside the courtroom would only make the story more difficult to comprehend. Days after the tragedy on Lisa Lane, Shaddis Jackson made her first appearance in a Birmingham courtroom. This is the part of the story that continues to haunt those who were there. Usually, when someone is facing a capital charge, when they realize they are looking at the potential of never walking free again, there is a visible weight. You expect to see remorse, or at the very least, a realization of the gravity. But according to multiple reports from the hearing, the atmosphere around Shaddis was disturbingly light. She was seen smiling. At certain points, she was even laughing and whispering across the room to people in the gallery. It was as if the reality of the situation, the fact that the father of her children was gone and she was the one being held responsible, hadn't even registered. Or perhaps it had. Her defense attorney would later argue that the situation was being overcharged. They claimed Shaddis was the one being attacked that night, that she was outnumbered and simply trying to escape a dangerous confrontation. They even pointed to her hair being visibly pulled out on one side as evidence of a physical struggle. But the prosecution remained unmoved. They kept coming back to the forensics, the weapon brought back to the scene, the two attempts to strike him, and those missing brake marks. In the eyes of the law, you don't escape by circling back and accelerating. The pain on the other side of that courtroom was a stark contrast. McKis's twin brother, Mike Bostic, has been vocal about the void left in his life. He shared, "My twin brother is gone. You were a good-hearted person, everybody loved you, I always said that about you, I'm going to miss everything about you McKis Bostic, I just can't type right now, but I'm hurt I lost my other half." Even Shaddis' own mother, Fetisha Jackson, found herself in an impossible position, grieving for both the man she considered a son-in-law and the daughter facing a lifetime behind bars. She wrote, "I lost a man that I called my son-in-law, I loved him as well, this seems like all a dream, I don't care what social media says, everyone is going to have their opinions, but they don't know the facts. My daughter, she is also grieving, and hurting my baby is not a bad person, it's something that happened in the heat of the moment, they loved each other, they had good times, and bad times, there's no perfect relationship. I wish I could take it back, God has the last say, I'm so sorry, I'm definitely going to miss McKis Bostic, he always told me he loved me, that was my son too." But for McKis's mother, Jennifer Bostic, the word dysfunctional doesn't begin to cover the loss of her son. Nearly a year after the incident, as the grand jury formally indicted Shaddis for capital homicide in March 2026, Jennifer shared a message that resonated with thousands. "My son McKis Bostic was one of a kind, a good-hearted young man. He tried to give her the world, did everything for her, even her two oldest children, he loved them and took care of them as little children, nothing was never good enough for her, my family, and I love and miss so much, only God knows why would she run my son over with that SUV, the pain is so bad and hard, almost a year later it feels like it happened yesterday." As we wrap this up, we have to look at the legacy McKis left behind. A candlelight vigil was held at the Jefferson County Youth Detention Center, where his co-workers and the young people he mentored gathered to release balloons. They've made a commitment to his children, to show up for them at Christmas, to be there for summer programs, and to ensure they know exactly who their father was. It's a somber reminder for all of us. McKis Bostic spent his days trying to save young people from violent futures, only to have his own future taken in a driveway on a holiday. He once shared a post back in 2018 about the enemy attacking families during the holidays. It's a chillingly prophetic thought when you realize he lost his life on Easter Sunday. He also once reposted a prayer that said, "Lord, if I don't ask you for nothing else, and I mean nothing, please keep me here for my kids, y'all keep taking these mothers and fathers away from their babies." He felt those words deeply. He worked every day to be there for those babies. And now, the community is left to pick up the pieces. So I have to ask you, when the social media posts start showing the dangerous side of a persona, at what point do we stop scrolling and start acting? Was this truly a heat-of-the-moment tragedy, or was it a calculated end to a relationship where one person was giving the world and the other was looking for a way out? Shatice Renee Jackson remains in the Jefferson County Jail without bond, awaiting trial for capital murder. This is the end of this chapter, but the search for justice for McKis Bostic continues. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'll be there reading and keeping the conversation going. Rest in peace, McKis.